Welcome back. All right. So let's jump into it. Time went by super quick on this one. It's just, yeah, I'm building shelves, and apparently time flies when you're doing shelves. All right. So now, speaking of time flying by, I wanted to talk about a side project that I just like launched. I put it on the internet for people to check out last week. So I kind of wanted to talk about how I put stuff together for it. So, have you ever felt like, oh, I'm so busy, or where has the time gone, kind of thing? Uh, like you're so tired at the end of the day, but you're like, what did I do? You know what I mean? Have you ever had those kind of things? Yeah, I have too. So I figured, hey, I'm a developer. Why not make something that will kind of help me reclaim that time? Let me know what was happening during that time. And so came up with this thing. Share my screen. And so I spoke about this in the previous cipher earlier today, but I want to talk about a different aspect of it. So I'm going to do a quick overview of it. All right, share my screen. I don't need any audio. So the website is whatyoudo.in. And I came up with it kind of like when it's just like a conversation in my brain where it's like, oh, I'm so busy. And then it's kind of like, well, what are you doing? And you just kind of like, oh, I can't really answer that because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, what are you busy doing? And so for me, I always have to remind myself it's easy to be busy, but more difficult to be productive. And so this is the kind of thing that so far, it's not too bad. I've been running it for like I've been working on it for maybe a little less than a month. And yeah, it's helped me be more intentional and more present in my tasks. You know, because sometimes, especially in development, when I'm looking up something, I'll go down this rabbit hole. Or sometimes you may be on Twitter and then it's like 3 hours go by and you're like, wait, what was I doing? Kind of thing. So this kind of helps me snap out of that. And I'll tell you how, because there we go. It says how it works. But let me post a link to the site so you can check it out. It'll be with the archive video, the recording of the video. So this is pretty much how it goes. And so how it works is that there's a switch in the settings. On means you get a notification every hour asking what you're doing. And so when it's on, whatever device you're on, you'll receive a notification on your device, whether it be mobile, desktop, whatever. Except which one was it? I think it was iOS Safari. They don't allow the API for it to work. So everything besides iOS Safari, I think. So yeah, and so then you reply with what you're doing. And so you try to be honest with, so they can look back and be like, oh, I really didn't need to spend that much time doing this thing or what have you. And importantly, your responses stay on your device. So I'm using like the local storage API. So whatever you respond with, that is on your device. It doesn't go to the cloud, doesn't go anywhere. I don't want your data. And for me to store it, it's going to cost me money. And I'm trying to do this on the cheap. So yeah, so all your responses stay on your device. And then if you turn it off, nothing happens. You don't get the notifications, nothing. All right. Then the hope is that you see where all that time went. And so if you want to try it out, you can try it out here. Click that. That takes you to the settings page. I already have it on so I can get notifications. But so this is how it's going to look if this is your first time. It's going to be off. Right? Then you're able to turn it on. And there you go. So you can also test it out. You can send a test notification. But I learned today that at least Windows, or it could be Chrome, I'm not sure, but you won't get notifications if you're sharing your screen, which makes sense because you don't want to have anything that will be like sensitive information if you're doing something like this where you're broadcasting on the internet and something random pops up as a notification, like somebody's phone number or something. You know what I mean? So I mean that makes sense. But I did a screen capture, and so you can see what the notification looks like right here. So it's pretty much, it says a message from Dwayne, me, and it says what you doing. And then you click that, right? Then you can click that. And also you can erase your responses at any time. So it clears out your local storage. And then coming soon, I'm thinking about implementing quick replies. So if it's the type of thing where you're always like doing the same thing, like in a meeting, you'd be able to set that as a quick reply. And so when you're answering the notification, you just press a button for in a meeting, and it'll just automatically do it for you. So looking to do that maybe. Now, when you actually go and click the notification, that'll take you to this simulated chat page where it asks, hey, what you doing? And then doing another demo. And you can hit enter or press send, and it'll pop up with a response. I think there's got it, nice, and word so far. So it'll randomly pick from one of those. And so cool. So now your reply is saved, and then you can view what you did. So it's like a list of the hours of the day, and kind of like your responses in there. And you can go to the settings if you want to turn it off or what have you, or erase your responses, or you can just close the app. So let's go to what you did, because we haven't seen that yet. And so this is what you did. Now, funny thing is, there was the time we went back an hour here in some states in the US. And so that caused the time to have two 1 a.m.s, because I think it's at 1 or 2 in the morning is when they go back an hour. It might be 1 o'clock, so that you're going to 12 again. So it's almost like you have 1 a.m. twice. So you gain an hour basically. And so that's what this is showing, which is strange. And so it goes through. And so this is what I did from this morning. So doing a demo. And then this one, we're at my time, we're doing another demo. And so you can kind of go through and see the day. And so, you can scroll through previous days, future days. If you want to go to today, you click today, and it goes back to the current day. And yeah, thought that's pretty cool. So that is that. Then also we've got the shop. So if you're fancy any like new threads, new year, new me, all that, get some new clothes. And it's getting kind of cooler, at least here in Florida. And so maybe you want a long sleeve, like a hoodie, what have you. I got some coding themed like designs. And so yeah, so if any of these tickle your fancy or what have you, yeah, feel free to check them out. But yeah, and there's also like only a few days you can get 20% off everything. So I figured I would mention that because get save your money as many times as you can. Save your money in as many ways as you can. And then here is the about. And so just pretty much everything that went into the website. So ever said I'm so busy, or where did the time go? Yeah, me too. So I made this web application to check in every hour to ask what you're doing. The hope is not to only provide a record of the day, but also act as a check that the right task is currently being worked on. Because yeah, like I said, sometimes I'm down a rabbit hole and I'm just lost. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I was going, but I'm just doing it. And then I'll get the notification, and then I'll be like, wait, I'm going down this rabbit hole. Let me reset and recalibrate and get back to what I was actually doing. So it kind of helps for that as well. And so these are the things I made it with: Astro, Firebase, Notification API, Svelte. And we spoke about Astro and Svelte earlier. So I kind of wanted to talk about how I use Firebase and the Notifications API, parts of it. Like I use the hosting, Cloud Firestore, Cloud Functions, and Cloud Messaging. And then the Notifications API is just what allows the browser to show notifications even when the browser is closed. It goes through service workers. It's kind of cool. And then just the updates. I launched this last week, And then you can check out my website for more stuff. All right, cool. So let's really quickly go over the cloud messaging because that's kind of like the crux of everything. So I originally intended to use another browser API, but I found out that it's not actually ready yet and don't really know. It's kind of like in limbo now because there was an origin trial. People seem to like it, but it's kind of like nothing has really happened with it. So I'm like, oh, because it would have been perfect. Everything would have been pretty much done on the device, right? At least the way it was kind of seeming like it was working. I don't know yet, but it felt like everything would be done on the device and that'd been great. But since it's not ready, I needed to, I use the same Firebase cloud messaging for untilit.works. So when you subscribe for to be notified when when we're live through the ciphers, I use this to send the messages that you receive on your device that you subscribe to. So the way it works is that you get a token, right? And so your device has a token. And then, I'm gonna post a link to this as well. So since I'm mentioning it, you can go to it yourself to the documentation and read it up yourself. But pretty much, it's your device gets a token, and you can on your device you can have the user subscribe to like topics or just subscribe to like everything. There's different ways of sending it. The way I was doing it, you subscribe to a topic, right? And then on my end, so you say, yes, here's my device ID. And yes, I would like to get updates. I want to receive notifications, right? So that's what happens. And then so that's what this does. And it has all the different ways: iOS, Android, C++, Unity. I use the web JavaScript one, and they have server environments. Cool. It's a nice like walkthrough and everything. So pretty cool stuff. So I have that happening, right? But you need like a backend to where you can subscribe to the topics. And so for that, I use Cloud Functions because that gives me basically like a node server that I can use. And so it's all tied and integrated in with Firebase. So it's a lot easier than, trying to go outside or what have you. So yeah, so I use this basically as a like a node server because that's basically what it is. And what happens is, so you have functions that you can create. And so I'm using a pub sub so that every hour, at the top of every hour, I send a message using the cloud messaging API from Firebase to send messages to everybody that's subscribed to the topic, pretty much. And that's what that talks about here. So I use this. And so it's under, I think it's trigger background functions. And yeah, pub sub triggers. And so that's what I use for every hour. For this one, I actually call a function. And so I call for untilit.works. For this site, I actually call it directly through my dashboard that I created here. So same thing, but two different ways of actually initiating the messages. And so, yeah, so I use this to be able to subscribe and unsubscribe to the topics. And then I take those and I'll send the messages to those device IDs so that you can receive it. Now, that's all well and good, but the browser needs to know what to be able to do with those incoming messages. Otherwise, it's going to be like, oh, what do you want me to do with this? So that is where, oh, by the way, let me copy and paste this as well. So this is the cloud functions. I use functions for a bunch of stuff, but for this case was for that. And then the notification API, which is kind of cool. All right, let me post that also. All righty. Now, this here is in the browser. We'll now be able to know what to do with those messages coming from my Firebase instance, right? So what happens is you'll get a notification like, hey, your task, whatever, messages, 12 new notifications, all that stuff. But you can do it now through the browser, which is great. And basically, the whole thing is through the service workers. So the service worker intercepts messages like what do you call it, like traffic. And so it will recognize, oh, this is like a push message or a message. What should I do with that? And with that, you can say like, oh, hey, I want you to display this notification. And it's actually like show notification. That's like the method. It's kind of awesome. And then you can kind of say what you want. You can even make it like buzz a certain way. Because, you know, sometimes some notifications will buzz. I think you can play like music or whatever. And so, but of course, you have to request permission before everything. So in your code, you make sure you request permission, and then you enable it. And then they're checking for, so creating a notification. Now, you can do this. Now, this sometimes works in some browsers. It's the whole thing. But I'm doing it just as if the browser is closed. So I'm doing it through the service worker. Because I think you can also do it through the browser itself. But I think it may have to be open. So don't hold me to that. But there's a bunch of stuff. So there's all these different. And then what happens? Then you can say like what happens when you click on the notification. It's all pretty cool. And so there's all this information. You can check them out and all this stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. A lot of stuff you can do. So I posted a link to that. And yeah. It's a lot of stuff. All right, cool. So yeah, that's it. That's how I handled the notification stuff. There's other stuff, notification API here. If you click this, I think this talks about like the service worker. Yeah, see, here's the service worker stuff. So let me post a link to this as well. Because yeah, you have to do some registration and all that stuff. And you can see it's pretty well, what do you call it? Supported. Except for like Safari on iOS, like I said. And then I guess WebView on Android. So if you're creating an Android app, I think, and if you're using WebView, I don't think it works. I haven't done that. I just do strictly mostly just web stuff. Because the web is awesome. And it shows all the different stuff you can and can't do. All right, so let me post a link to this as well. And have you ever used any of these technologies that I mentioned? Let me know. I think this stuff is kind of cool. The stuff you can do on the web is kind of amazing. And so, yeah, there's that. So I just wanted to talk about that. Let y'all check it out if you haven't seen it before. And let me stop screen share real quick. Yes. Cool. Now, I am going to get y'all back to work. Again, thanks for hanging out and indulging me. So yeah, the new website, whatyoudo.in. If you ever want to, like an accountability partner kind of thing, where it's like every hour somebody's kind of checking in with you. They kind of, make sure everything is cool. And so, yeah. All right. I'm just setting stuff up here. Let me get y'all back to work. Again, I want to. I didn't create a highlight video. See, that would have been bad. But let me get y'all back to work. Let me know what y'all are up to. I'm still making cabinets. Oh, not cabinets, but shelves. And I think I know the layout and the orientation and things I want. So I'm going to make the shelves, put them in that orientation, and see if that works for me. So that's the plan. Hopefully, I can do it within the next week. So when we come back, you may see like a bunch of shelves and stuff behind me. We'll see. All right. And then if we don't have any show and tells, we're going to go over an artist's website that we play on the radio show and I'm a fan of, and maybe you'll be a fan of them as well. All right. So speaking of being a fan of someone, I'm a fan of these two folks here. One being Nujabez and the other being Apani B. And the track is called Thank You. And this will be the outgoing music to get y'all back to work. All right. So again, thank y'all for hanging out. Till next time, 15 minutes after the hour, we'll be back for the final break session of the final cipher of the day. And I am tired and I want to go lay down. All right. Thanks again, y'all. Talk to you later. Be easy. Peace.
But let me start from the heart. I just want to stay. I thank all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. let me start from the heart. I explore state. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. I thank you all for showing love to me. I appreciate this unique opportunity. I'm gonna rock so hard you never stop supporting me. I'm gonna show you how music is more meaning to life. But let me start from the heart. I explore state. I thank you all for showing love to me.